A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. So this story basically has a family that's going on a road trip, who's planning to go from Georgia to Florida. You have an old grandma who's very talkative. She's kind of to herself, but she is very loudmouth. You have her son Bailey, and then you have the wife, who they don't really mention the name. The three children: John Wesley, June Starr, and a newborn. And then you'll have later on the Misfit and his cast team. Now you have the real talkative grandma who just really wants to go to Tennessee for the road trip, but her son Bailey continuously wants to go to Florida. She does let him know about the warnings that this so-called person named the Misfit has escaped jail or prison, whatnot, and he's on the loose, and he was supposed to be in that Florida area. So the story uses a lot of characterization to describe the way that the characters are actually as people. You have the grandma who talks a lot, who just continuously wants it her way, and she's very stern. She also has this idea about other people, especially seems maybe people of the other race, that they have a lower lifestyle than she does. This is shown and described when they are in the restaurant. They pull up to a restaurant or a diner or whatnot, and they go get food. She says some derogatory things against African-American people that were inside of there. On the way on the road trip, she said a few more things about people on the side of the road to the kids. The kids also have their own characterization going on, where you have the daughter in the back kicking the back seat of where Bailey's driving her dad, and you got the kids kind of separated. Everybody's so separated in this car, in this vehicle on this road trip. So really, this whole time, nobody's really gotten a hold on their relationship as a family as a whole. And eventually, you'll see that at the end, they figure out a way to become a family, which unfortunately was a little too late. And you also have some other characteristics from the grandma that obviously came down to either her son or just the grandkids. You got the daughter that just kind of very kind of rude girl. She's rude to a couple of people inside the restaurant. You just have a lot of separation going on, and like said before, they don't realize it until everything meets the end. So as the trip continues on, you have the grandma that thinks in her head, hey, I remember this house that used to have treasure, and we should maybe check it out. She intrigues the family, they are all obviously willing to go, so they detour towards this house that supposedly has treasure. On the way down there, the grandmother realizes that this house isn't actually in Florida, it's actually in another state. In this moment of panic, she gets very startled, and she scares Bailey, her son, that's driving, and they get into a car accident, into a ditch. We'll sidetrack a little bit and take a look into the Misfit's life, who comes into this family's life pretty soon. He thinks that he's misjudged when it comes to him going to jail. He thinks that the court and the law got the better of him, that he didn't deserve it. Throughout the readings, you would think that, what is shown here is kind of what type of person he is, that maybe he, did do some real stuff, maybe really did, live that lifestyle, and he wasn't unjust when he was put into jail or prison. However, he believes that he was, and then shortly after he was in jail, he was then a fugitive after he escaped. So now you have the family assessing the situation with the car damage, as nobody's hurt. However, they get approached by three men in a vehicle, and immediately the grandmother looks at the Misfit and recognizes him as the Misfit, where she starts to panic, and everything kind of goes downhill from there. And he says, I wish you never noticed me and whatnot. So now he instructs his two minions to take Bailey and I believe his son to the force, and that's when they were executed or taken out. Then shortly after, they took the remaining amount of people, which was the mother and the other kids, to the actual forest, and they were as well. And at the end, you have the grandmother and the Misfit situation going on. So now you're in a situation where you have the mother and the misfit all alone. The rest of the family was taken and murdered. So now the misfit's with the grandmother, and she starts trying to plea her way out of him killing her almost. She even uses the words to tell him that he could be my son. She refers to him as possibly her son. So she's trying to make him feel bad or of some sort so he doesn't actually kill her. The whole time, really, she's only caring about herself. She's not really worried about what happened to the rest of the family, even though she knows. She got a little bit emotional. However, it just seemed that she was very selfish in this situation and this part of the story, which basically shows her character basically throughout the whole time. This is what she's been acting out from the start to the end. The grandma seems to be somebody that shows their character is kind of fixated on being in the past. She wants to go to Tennessee to see old friends. She wants to do old-fashioned things. She still believes that African Americans are of somewhat lower than what she is. She thinks that that's okay to talk like that, to have these derogatory statements. And ultimately, throughout the diner, throughout her being rude to people, throughout her seeing the black people on the side of the road, and saying bad things, it just basically shows that the past has ultimately doomed her as the future will continue. So that's basically what this is symbolizing throughout this whole story. As the misfit goes on to take out the grandma and everybody's now gone, you want to start thinking, what was the reason behind this? What was the logic? One could say that maybe he just likes to kill. In my opinion, I don't think that's what necessarily it is. I think that he does kill because he enjoys it. However, he might be doing it because he's either trying to seek some kind of justice because of his injustice, or maybe he sees some parts of maybe some evil in some people and he wants to take matters in his own hand. I don't agree with what he did to this family. However, you have to take a look at what was the reasoning behind him taking out this family that really had no love for each other at any point in this story, or love for anything else really, until really the end of the story, where you see the family's taken out in little groups and taken out into the forest and murdered. This is probably one of the closest moments this family has had in this whole story, as the family unites together and they're taken out together. That gives them that that time together. They even showed in the story that they held hands at one point. The mother, which basically had no character, wanted to go with her husband, and she wanted to be taken out after she knew what happened to him. So this is probably the strongest point. Unfortunately, it's when they all died. This is the strongest point when the family is actually at their peak throughout the whole story, because the whole time before, they really had no other relationships. Ultimately, I chose this story to explain for this project due to what this family went through. Family is often overlooked and taken for granted, and we shouldn't take family or anybody around us for granted, including people we don't know. We shouldn't judge anybody, and we shouldn't be hypocrites. We need to be humble and bring more love and culture to our society and continue to help this country grow better. I think that this is what the story was depicting, whether you talk from the misfits' point of view or you talk from the family's point of view. And the grandmother, unfortunately, was just kind of the middleman to make both point of views work. We need to be more humble and love one another and keep each other encouraged. That's why I chose this story. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful week. Thank you. Bye-bye.